Okay, we're just going to get started. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to part 4 of our Woodlands Virtual Forum program, the last of a 4-part webinar series. My name is Peter Robichaud with the Canadian Woodlands Forum, and certainly hope that you've all been keeping well. I'd like to wish and extend a sincere and heartful Happy New Year from all of us here at the CWF, and really glad that you can join us. Pleased to still be able to reach out to you in this fashion as part of our ongoing commitment to serving our members and keeping you connected and informed. Busy program that we have upcoming, but just a few housekeeping items before we get started. I'll be calling on our speakers shortly, who will share their presentations on the screen. Unlike our in-person events, there's somewhat limited interaction during the webinar. However, the platform does allow you to post your questions by you just hover over the Q&A icon there at the bottom of your screen. And you can ask and post your question at any time during the presentations. And what we'll do at the end of the presentations, we'll essentially read them out loud, and they'll be addressed by our speakers on a first come, first served basis until our time runs out. So for our session today, we've shifted gears with a focus on improving productivity and efficiency in forest trucking operations. And one key aspect of forest operations that really provide a great opportunity to improve the cost of competitiveness, I guess, of the sector at large. We have a great lineup of speakers and lots of practical information to share, covering some of the equipment, truck configurations, fleet utilization, and training. So to get us started, pleased to introduce Kelly Henderson, who is Executive Director with the Trucking HR Sector Council Atlantic. And I'm just going to bring Kelly on here. And we'll get her on board. Get her to unmute. There you are. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you, Peter. And thank you to everyone for taking time from what I know are busy schedules to get an update from us on the forestry initiative that we're working on with Peter and his team. As Peter said, my name is Kelly. I'm Executive Director with the Trucking Human Resource Sector Council Atlantic. We are a not-for-profit organization who works with the trucking industry to help address their HR issues. We're governed by a board of directors, so industry really drives any of the initiatives that we're working on. And so you're probably wondering, what does that have to do with forestry? Well, obviously there are forestry professional drivers, and probably about a year and a half ago, Peter and I and Bruce had met, and we kind of talked about some of the similarities in terms of recruiting and retaining professional drivers as we look at whether they're forestry drivers or drivers in other aspects of the industry. And so we had an opportunity to kind of look at, okay, where could we go from there, and what could we actually look at and work on? So with that, we actually started looking at the forestry program, putting together a forestry program that would reflect the needs and demands of the actual sector. And so what I'm going to talk about this afternoon is forestry program update, give you a virtual reality training update as well, and then provide you a little bit of information on the wage subsidy program that we currently have running. So all of those are areas that we're currently working on with Peter and his team. So the forestry program update, where that came from was that we recognized that early on, as we started doing the, looking at forestry and looking at the program for an entry-level professional driver, that program is 12 weeks. So the driver spends 8 weeks at the professional training institution, and they get their Class 1 license, and they move on to an internship period or a work experience, if you will. And so what we recognized was that with the, really the intricate details that surround the operation of a forestry professional driver, that perhaps 12 weeks would not be enough time to actually prepare an entry-level driver for the occupation itself. And so we embarked on, really research and development in terms of looking at what was required in the forestry program side, what could we actually do to bridge any gaps that may or may not exist, and really come out with a well-rounded individual for the program itself. So we have 3 streams that we're talking about when we talk about a forestry program. We talk about it for the entry-level, non-experienced driver, the experienced driver who's worked in other sectors of the industry, but not forestry, and then of course the forestry professional that's in the industry today. The forestry professional that's in today, we have a driver certification program that we are looking at, we're launching, which will actually give us an opportunity to recognize individuals who could potentially take some of these new drivers as interns or as coaches, that the professional drivers would be the coaches for these individuals. And so really what we're looking at, on that side of it is looking at the existing workforce and who might be interested in, taking on that opportunity. But when we look at the entry-level driver, we know that they need more than what's offered at the training institution, because they need the hands-on operation of the actual load or loading the truck, driving on back roads, particularly, whether they're icy roads that we're looking at this time of the year, or even just, during rain season, wherever that looks like, it's still, it's a bit more demanding. And certainly for an entry-level driver who has not experienced that, we want to make sure that we add some time into the actual training side. So we would be adding it into the component where they would be on their work experience or job experience. And then we're also looking at it for the existing drivers who want to come and be a part of the forestry sector. Again, we need professional drivers across the industry. So we want to make sure there's opportunities for everybody. And so that program looks at also providing a work experience or an internship for those drivers that qualify, and actually allowing them to get some hands-on training as well, because they're still going to need that to be successful in the sector. So looking at those 3 streams, that's really where we're, kind of at. And one of the things that we realize or recognize is that insurance is a challenge for many across the industry, not just forestry, but across the sector itself. And so we're hoping that by doing this as well, that it will provide some support for you when you're going back to insurers to show the different programs that are available and what you're doing to invest in the new and existing workforce. So with that, I'm going to move on. I have just a brief demonstration of the virtual reality simulator, which I will talk about shortly. But I'm going to give you a demo of what that looks like just kind of today. But it gives you a bit of a snapshot as to what we're looking at. And the virtual reality training project itself is an initiative that we've actually launched over the last year. And what we're looking at is, from an industry perspective, is does virtual reality training, or can it support the professional development of the existing workforce? So as new technology comes in, can we actually simulate some of those technologies so that it's not as daunting or, laborious to train drivers, to be able to actually train them in a virtual reality environment. And it's also looking at, for virtual reality training side of it, from a productivity side, in the event that somebody has an accident or an incident, we can actually create the scenario that the incident occurred and actually create training with the virtual reality simulator, so that it can actually create or provide an enhanced learning experience for the driver before they go back out. And then they can actually apply those skills that they've learned in the truck. It does not replace hands-on training. So we have not introduced it as a replacement at the entry level for training, simply because we don't want that. We don't certainly want to give that impression or have that miscommunication go out there. The fact is that it's a tool that can be used, but it is not the only tool that would be used, regardless if it's virtual reality simulator training or if it's, the other type of simulators. None of that should ever replace actual hands-on training. So that's not the goal. But one of the things that we really found interesting and we wanted to prioritize as we're doing this, we're creating different scenarios. So we have some scenarios such as the Confederation Bridge. We're doing the Port of Halifax, so that we have an Atlantic flavor, if you will, to some of the simulated scenarios that we can actually access. But one that we realized would be valuable from a training perspective, and certainly from what we've learned from developing the forestry standard side, is that having the simulation of the loading the truck, at least as a starting point for some of those entry-level drivers, would be something that will help support and enhance their skills as they actually move to the skills and hands-on portion of the training of loading and driving the vehicle. Without a doubt, the challenges that our professional drivers on the forestry side face, backing up into the backing long distances in the backwoods and doing the loading and all of those things. There's a lot of responsibility, and it's certainly a specialized talent that we recognize. And so we want to try and provide as many opportunities as we can. But we're also looking at this from, when we eventually get through the COVID times, as we call them, and we get to a point where we can actually start with the recruiting, which is one of the big conversations that Peter and I have had in the past, is talking about recruiting people into the sector. The forestry simulation is a great example for us to be able to use from a youth perspective, in being able to actually show them, the exciting part of what they would be involved in doing in that type of a role within the sector. So it's really trying to look at kind of the broad opportunities, but really trying to also make it realistic, so that we have the opportunity for people to, to learn and to be engaged and with things that are real life for them. So we're doing video of the actual loading of the unloading of the truck. We're doing video of the pre-trip of the truck, so that we can, or the unit, so that we can have something that's realistic for when, whether you look at it or whether you're using it for your staff or what have you. It's something that's a tool that's going to be available to everyone. We have multiple units of the virtual reality simulators, so you actually have the opportunity as well to bring it on site and use it for training, if for training purposes or whatever way it can be used to support you. It's there for you to access. So that's one of the good things about from a council perspective, we're here to serve and to do as much as we can to support the sector and all aspects of our industry. And finally, I think I'm staying on track for time, Peter. Just want to make sure that I'm not going over. The final piece that I wanted to talk about from, certainly from a productivity perspective, is a wage subsidy program that we have going now. And I know there will be some of you that hire Class 1 operators or tractor trailer operators. And if you are hiring them, we actually have a program in place where we can subsidize some training. If there's some upgrading that you need to, give your driver or your potential new hire, or a 4-month wage subsidy program that we have available now. And so that pays $10 an hour out of a $15 an hour pay to an individual. And that's up to 40 hours a week. So that's based in Nova Scotia at this time. That's where we've been able to get that grant. But we wanted to make sure that we shared that with you as well, because obviously if you're hiring people and it's, potentially that time, there's obviously a learning curve when we hire drivers, whether they're new drivers to the company, new to the sector, whatever that looks like. So, and this could have been somebody that you hired on in December as well. So don't hesitate to ask or to reach out if you're wondering whether or not you have somebody who might qualify for that, because we definitely want to make sure that you have as much opportunity as everybody else to access the wage subsidy when it comes to the professional drivers that we're bringing into the sector. So just that's really important from our perspective as well. So I think that for me, that wraps up kind of where I was going and what I was going to be touching on. I'm not sure if there were any questions or.
Yep, maybe what we can do, Kelly, if we maybe just get you to unshare your screen there,
Yep.
your presentation.
Sure.
And we do have one question that we can maybe entertain here.
Okay.
And just bear with me. They were just, Bruce was asking what the timeline is for introducing that forestry simulation, with the loader and forest driver, just, working on narrow roads, what have you. Any general timeline on that, Kelly?
We're aiming for, we've got the aim, just thinking of our contract, I think it's early March is when we're expecting to have that ready to roll. They're actually developing now. I do have some pictures, but I couldn't incorporate them into the presentation. So, but it just shows you the movements of the truck, and it's quite cool anyway. So we're pretty excited about how they're progressing. So we're just waiting for one final video, and then they'll be able to kind of put the finishing touches on. So it could be sooner than March.
Perfect. All right, thanks.
Yeah.
We can entertain maybe some more questions later as we open the floor at the end of all the presentations. So Kelly, thank you very much for that. We certainly look forward to, I think the simulator will certainly play a key role in the training program, and appreciate the support of the sector council in taking the lead in developing this module for, I think, for a much needed shift in our demographics, with our sector, both in the trucking and the harvesting, but specifically more on the trucking side. So we certainly thank you for that.
And thank you for the opportunity.
All right, perfect. So Kelly, we'll be back later on to answer any other questions. Our next topic relates to how we can improve productivity by looking at the cost benefits of different configurations and efficiencies through improved utilization of our existing equipment. To start off this discussion, we've invited some folks with JD Irving Woodlands, and I'd like to introduce and bring on Cam Rust, Trucking Development Lead, Joe Stilwell, the Business Analyst, and Adam Baxter, a Trucking Superintendent. And the boys will provide an update on the New Brunswick TriDrive-Quad pilot project and some of the challenges and maybe opportunities in coordinating truck backhauls. So guys, let's bring Joe on as well. Maybe we can get everybody on board. And Adam, are you there? You can bring yourself on. Perfect. So with that, Cam, I'll leave the floor to you to take the lead.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. So Cam Rust. I started as a summer student in 1999 with JDI, and after I graduated from forestry in 2000, I've been with the company ever since with various roles. But transportation's been a lot of fun for us, so looking forward to talk about it. So, we're going to talk about initially about the overall strategy of our transportation, but it's really more with less. It's with people being tougher and tougher to find, drivers, trucks. Really, how can we do more with bigger payloads, bigger legal payloads, more hours per truck, better utilization, more revenue for our contractors, and really less trucks in the system to make it overall better for everybody. And really, the things we're going to focus in on are increase efficiencies, decrease our costs, increase the financial health of our core contractors, and really, as I said, really boils down to less trucks. So the four big buckets we're chasing right now to make this happen is increased legal payloads, which a lot of this is going to be a conversation on, including the expanded TriDrive program. We're maximizing DTI up ratings, and then increased loaded miles that Adam and Joe are really going to get into. The other one we're focused on is increased paid hours on our core trucks. So, how can we get more hours, more double shifted trucks, look at shift alternatives. And then we've been working with foreign professional drivers on how we can help our contractors out with solid professional drivers. We're looking at reducing non-productive time. So that's really the cycle times in and out of our yards. How, if we can make that faster, it means our trucks can be out there working and moving more wood. So we're using things like analytic reports, new dispatch software. We're working through digital load slips at the time. And then some of the other stuff we're working on is increased road speeds on our forest roads. So if we can speed the roads up, again, we can cycle trucks faster, they can haul more product, and again, less trucks needed. some of our enablers, of course, would be around safety and then the technical support to make it all happen. Our principles really of our partnership with our trucks are, they obviously need to have an increased revenue and they need to pay their drivers more and more every year. So the wages need to go up. And really to offset that, payloads and metric ton per truck also need to go up. And what that means is we're able to hold the rate cost per metric ton for our sawmills. And that's critical, to stay in business, is to make sure we can hold our costs, because some family in Toronto doesn't really care that the product came from New Brunswick or if it came from, somewhere in South America. Really, they just look at the price of the product on the shelf. So we all have to do our piece. So, it's really maintaining our trucking rate per ton, but we got to increase production per truck per year. And then obviously we need to improve contractor margin to make sure the contractors are successful and continue supporting us. So, really going to talk about the TriDrive program, which is really one of the ways we're doing this. And, the pilot program started back in January of 2018. And currently we have 17 of these units working for us. And by the end of 2021, we hope to have around 30 of these units working throughout New Brunswick. There's a picture of one, as you can see in the background. What you can notice is actually it's got a dual lift axle. So it's got a dual steer on the quad, on the steerable quad, as well as the rear axle lifts when there's no weight on it. So that way it reduces our fuel costs and tire wear on that axle. We use Western Star and Freightliner tractors with Manac trailers. And the trucks are both standard and automated. So we've been trying some automated trucks that have worked very well. The gross vehicle weight of this unit through our program is 62,300 kgs. And you can see the breakout, the tractor, the drives and the quad trailer. But we're also allowed 100 kg instrument allowance on each of the axles other than the steer axle. So that, if you compare it to our normal self-loaders, the fuel burn is about 4% more with these Tridems compared to our self-loaders. The price difference is about $21,000 more. So it's about $376,000, with all the extra warranties and moose bumpers and headache racks and everything all in, versus about $355 for say a fully loaded self-loader. So it's about 6% higher in price. The tear is about 24,270 kg versus a self-loader running probably around 22,200. So it's about 2 tons more per truck. But you get a huge gain on payload. You're getting, a 38 metric ton payload versus 33. So it's really about a 5,000 kg or a 15% increase on our payload. So you can just imagine if every 5 of these trucks we have on the road, we could actually pull a self-loader off the road. So it's a big deal for us with the overall strategy we're trying to accomplish. The feedback is the guys really like the ride. It's the guys tell us, or girls who's ever driving the truck tell us that when they're in the TriDrives driving down the road, and especially on the woods roads, that it's a very comfortable ride. It's very solid. It has great traction, obviously in the hills, as well as in the wintertime. You probably don't need the wheel chains quite as often as some of the other trucks. And it's kind of funny, the guys in northern New Brunswick, or girls, they like the big belt buckles and the boots. So they're very proud of these trucks compared to the self-loaders, just because they're a much bigger truck, as they call them. Some of the concerns, if you look at the overall picture, is compared to the self-loaders in our, that work in New Brunswick, the self-loaders are, they have to worry about commercial vehicle enforcement, but they don't have their weights reported out like these guys do. So if there's a difference between the two programs is, these guys have to be held to the accountable legal load, which is a good thing, where the self-loaders have some options. If they do come in a little bit heavy, there might not be as much of a consequence. The map of where we work in New Brunswick, all the orange, and I don't know if you can see it well on your screens, but the orange are really all the TriDrive's routes throughout New Brunswick. And what's interesting is that it really ties in with all of the mills throughout the province. And so all the main highways that B trains can travel on, the routes 1s, route 2s in New Brunswick, they're all covered, but then quite a few other roads have been added. And we're really trying to grow the program, work with the province, find where it makes sense that these trucks and configurations can continue working and add value for all of us. Next, I'm going to turn over to Joe Stilwell. So, Joe has been working very hard with Adam on backhauls and loaded miles. So Joe, I'll turn over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Cam. So my name's Joe Stilwell. I've been with Irving since 2013, business analyst with them now. So yeah, one of my big projects I work on is the loaded miles initiative, and falls in with our strategy to do more with less, essentially. We're looking at reducing our transportation costs. So what this map shows is the backhauls that we did for 2020. There was over 7,000 loads backhauled, 250,000 tons matched. So it, like I said, it reduces our transportation costs, but it's also good for the contractor. There's quite a bit of benefit there. Obviously, the more the truck's loaded, the more the contractor's going to get paid. So what we do is with the more production that you get, basically, it helps with our company. You go to the top of the rankings, so you're kind of first in line at the loader. You'll get a chance for spring work if that's available. And plus, the way our pay structure is, we have an alignment bonus. So the more machine hours that you get in a week, the higher your bonus is. It could be up to 20%. So there's really quite a good benefit for both sides here. So yeah, Cam, if you want to switch to the next slide there for me. So how we've been able to do this, we've had pretty good savings. We averaged 650,000 last 3 years. So we have a weekly meeting with all the trucking team, supervisors, superintendents, and we look at the opportunities that are ahead of us. So we look at all the lanes and where the wood flow is headed. We talk about what went well the previous week and what we missed. So a big one is that we've put a bit more focus on is the missed opportunities. So right in our backyard, we see a lot of empty trucks going down Route 10 towards Chipman and Sussex. So we tried to pinpoint what's going on there. Like, why are we missing some opportunities? We know there's wood to haul on both ends that the truck could be loaded. So really we kind of dug a little deeper into those missed opportunities and try to close the gap a little bit. And it's been pretty successful. I think just really putting some focus on it, just to try and determine where those issues are happening. So it really just kind of boils down to communication. We've seen an improvement there. So having said that, there's still room for improvement. We're still missing some of those opportunities out there. So these are some of the tools we're looking at to improve that. So one of them is leveraging our dispatch team. So we've got a group of folks that trucks will call in and ask where to go to get loaded. And so if we'd like to get our self-loaders involved with that as well. So we'll give them directions. Dispatch is there basically 24/7. They can give them, tell them if there's a block available that they can go to. And another one that we're looking at is navigation, so turn-by-turn directions. And since I started with Woodlands, it's something the drivers have always wanted. Especially you think about a driver that's out of his district, like a driver from northern New Brunswick coming down into Nakawik or Chipman or Sussex, and they're looking for, not sure where to go. So I think this would help a lot, having some navigation. So it's something we're definitely looking into that we'd like to have. I guess the hurdle there is, it's woods roads, so they're not publicly mapped necessarily. So we've got to figure out a way to put them on certain different navigation systems. So something we're working on. Another big one that would be great is we're looking at an optimization software. So we met with a company that can provide this software. Now, essentially what it does is it compiles all of your unscaled inventory. So and takes your roadside inventory, and then looks at all your fleet available and determines the best fit. So, it takes into account where the wood is supposed to go, trip time that it's going to take to get there, and all the trucks available to you. If you have a truck breakdown or a mill that says, okay, we're closed off, we've got enough volume, we don't want any more, you can just have the software just kind of reset and rejig the whole plan for the week for you. So it would be a great tool. It's long ways away, I think, or it's still the discussion phase, but certainly it's going to be the most efficient way that we can use our fleet. And so lastly, we can leverage third-party mills and harvesting operations. Currently, we have an agreement with the AV to haul popple from the Sussex yard. So more agreements like that. It certainly benefits both sides. Lowers the transportation costs for both of us. It's loaded each way, so that's another tool that we can certainly share with other parties. So with that, I guess I'll pass along to Adam, who can talk more about that as well.
Yeah, thanks a lot there, Joe. So my name's Adam Baxter. I've been with JD Irving since 2013 full time. I was in the trenches before that, planting trees as a student. So I was able to get my hands dirty for a couple of years before jumping into the management side of things. I have been involved with the trucking group for the past 2 years, so perhaps not as much expertise as I'm sure some of you folks that are participating here, but nonetheless, I've been really involved with Joe on the backhaul side of things. So, we've been putting a lot of focus into improvement and putting a lot of effort in it here. So Joe and the team have done a great job as far as the coordination and communication goes on this. Looking at the past few years, they've saved well over $1.5 million, which is excellent to see. So, the more that we can look in this and the more focus that we put on it, the better that we seem to be able to get. So, we're really pushing to, utilize those bigger truck configurations that Cam spoke to, because obviously the bigger the payload, the better the savings we're going to see as these backhauls take place. So some of the reasons that backhauls are missed. So, no opportunity near destination, third-party locations. So, thinking about this, even in our own operations, our own harvesting operations aren't always lined up in the right location. So region to region coordination is very, very important amongst ourselves. So, bringing our foresters together, bringing our management teams together to help understand, where our guys are cutting, where the folks in other regions are cutting, what makes the most sense for a backhaul. Historically speaking, when we look at our operation, we're very lean. We push our guys to get into a block, haul everything that's there, keep on moving so that we can keep the operation clean and tidy. But perhaps there's more to it. Perhaps there's more opportunity to say, let's leave those 5 loads of maple behind because, next week we're going to have trucks coming from a different area. Perhaps they work for a different company or whatever the case may be that can take that wood, that can clean it up at a reduced cost. But at the same time, cutting costs for the company, but increasing revenue for the contractors that are hauling that wood. Some of the other challenges that we run into just are, the distance that our mills are from each other. The timing of shift change doesn't always work out. Part of our partnership model is for folks to be double shifted. So, the idea is for them to work a good 12-hour shift and then meet up with their shift partner and change. So in order to match and meet that expectation, to get the guys home at nighttime, which is really something that we value and that, we think the guys that work for us value getting home to their families at nighttime. So making sure that they're able to do that obviously it creates a challenge for the backhauls. And then obviously there's always more opportunity for communication. So, like Joe alluded to, the dispatch at this point in time isn't involved with our self-loaders. So when a self-loader perhaps gets to a mill at 2 o'clock in the morning, there may not be a supervisor or superintendent available to get a hold of that could let them know where that backhaul opportunity might be if they didn't already have one. But dispatch, for right now is available 5-6 days a week, 24 hours a day. So, trying to find opportunities within dispatch to free up some of their time to get them more involved in these value-added activities is another effort that we're looking at. Something else that we've talked a lot about, you can flip that to the next slide there, Cam. is the company to company and third party backhaul situation. So this is the number of loads that came off of all of our operations that went to third party mills and came back to our operation empty. So, we're looking at this saying, perhaps there's an opportunity between ourselves, whether it be, AV Atholville, Twin Rivers, AV Nakwik, Arbeck, an opportunity to get together with these other folks, get their trucks involved in our operation, our trucks involved in theirs. And, when they're delivering to our operation, perhaps there's a backhaul there for them to take back. And no different than when we're delivering to their mills, is there a backhaul there that makes sense that is a win-win-win for both, their company, our company, and the contractor to get that wood moving. And when you really look at this, all this goes hand in hand. The more loaded miles that our trucks have, the less trucks we're to need to move that wood. We've all learned and talked about how challenging it is to find drivers these days. So all that goes hand in hand with do more with less. So with that, that's kind of a good way to wrap things up, I think. So if there's any questions, I think there's one question there, Cam, maybe.
Yeah, we do have time from Jan. Cam, are there any issues with the trailer hanging up on the rear of the tractor on camel humps?
No, we haven't had any issues that I'm aware of. That trailer was actually designed out west, and Manac bought the company. So it's got an extra long neck compared to the normal HSL trailers, but we're only ordering in actually this model of trailer now for anything that we spec. That way it can fit under our TriDrives.
Cool. All right. Okay. Again, we'll open the floor, everybody, regarding, for more Q&A here after the end of this. There is another question there, but like I said, maybe we'll tackle that one at some time. So Cam, maybe if I can get you to unshare your screen, and thank you very much. And if you guys can maybe just park yourselves, and then I'll get Josh here to come on board with us. So while Josh is doing that, our next topic, again, is with this final speaker is Josh McKinney from AV Group, New Brunswick, trucking supervisor with AV Nakwik. He'll also provide a general overview of the challenges faced with backhauls, but also speak to how they've gone about maximizing their fleet utilization and organizing and scheduling their wood hauls. So, Josh, I'm going to hand it over to you here. If you want to, you're going to flip your screen for us. And I'll give you the floor, my friend.
Okay. How's it showing up to you there, Peter? Can you see my screen?
We're seeing it in presenter style there. So if you want to just flip to your other screen like you did there the other day, that'd be great.
I'm only on the one screen here at the moment. The other
Okay.
screen's not even on.
All right. Well, let's go with what you've got there for the time being then. As long as we haven't lost Josh, we'll be good. You still there, Josh? All right.
There.
Oh, there you are. You just come back. Okay. So we lost you there for a minute.
All right. Sorry about that, guys. Just like to introduce myself to those that haven't met me before. My name's Josh McKinney. I've been the trucking supervisor and head of the trucking department here at AV Group for 3 years now. I'm going to try and go through this and not overlap with the stuff that the guys from JD Irving covered as well, but I'm sure there'll be some slight overlap. Some of the biggest things we're finding we got to overcome is working in silos. So this may include like between company to company, and kind of in our own group, we got to get over working in silos between contractors. So the way our trucking group works is every trucking fleet has their own loader, and they find it very important to get back to themselves they don't like the idea of going to other loaders to try and utilize those backhauls as much. Loading, yeah, sorry. Yard backhauls, and most of these just cover your costs. We move some more wood, but the issue with them is we have increased handling. Things like this include adding cost of unloading and loading in the yard with self-loaders, and having a loader sitting in the yard to load fleet trucks to do the backhauls. Here at AV Group, Naquick, we don't have a loader currently in the yard that can load trucks for backhauls out of this yard. So anything that leaves this yard on a backhaul has to either be loaded by a self-loader or be a self-loader itself. Some of the struggles this brings is trying to have a self-loader in the yard when you have the fleet trucks present. It also limits us where most of our fleet is done on, or most of our trucking is done on fleet trucks. Another little speed bump that we usually come into is doing backhauls from multiple different blocks. It's just an increase in calculations need to be done for every block that we have out there in our system, which depending on how many we want to put in, it can be quite a number of blocks that are active at any given line. It also makes it hard for the fleet trucks to plan between each other. So if you have two different contractors going back and forth trying to line up backhauls for each other, it interferes with the timing of the truck showing up at the loader. Some of the troubles we got into this year were we didn't have a lot of wood coming down from the north to our southern mills. So the wood was kind of one direction. We were sending softwood north, but nothing was really coming down from the north. So there's a lot more empty miles due to just demand this year. So with this, it caused issues matching up contractors from the north to the south to work together. In fact, there wasn't a whole lot coming south to AV Naquick, meant that there wasn't a lot of backhauls for me to utilize. Because of this, we have offered woodlot owners the opportunity to truck their wood with our core group. By doing this, we would increase backhaul capacity for our core trucking group. As the guys from JDI have already mentioned, we currently have two really major backhauls with JDI. One is bringing up popple from the Sussex sawmill and bringing down maple from the St. Leonard yard. These locations are both spots we are delivering wood to currently, so this is great. I think we need to be doing more of it. The biggest issue is just trying to line up the fine details. Ideally, you do all your backhauls, in my opinion, right out of the woods. This would increase the savings and decrease the amount of handling costs that were tagged onto the wood when you're doing backhauls. This would increase the earnings for trucking companies and decrease the cost for the companies that are producing the wood. Currently now, we try and put all our savings onto one side of the haul. By doing this, it decreases the time that it takes to do these calculations for the backhauls. Some of the things that also kind of hurts on truck utilization, like the guys from Irving were saying, try and run a low inventory in certain seasons, especially fall and winter due to road conditions and plowing. Because of this, low inventories decrease the number of opportunities we have for that backhaul, for different diversities of where we can send our wood on a backhaul. We also have times where most of the mills we deliver to have set hours that aren't 24/7. So mill hours and days that are open also kind of restrict the flow of wood and where we can send them and when we can do it. Sometimes our trucks end up getting caught, like they'll go up loaded at night, but they can't unload until the morning, which can affect their schedule the next following day. So with AV, most of all the wood that we're trucking right this year has been hardwood. So this has impacted me extremely because for the most part, the haul time has been decreased in half. And our softwood takes about twice as much time to deliver one load as hardwood. So this isn't the case for every block that we've trucked or are working on, but for the most part, increasing hardwood causes us to truck our wood twice as fast. So some of the things that we're doing to overcome this is trying to do an optimum forest inventory. So it keeps us in line with what's out there and keeps us balanced on where our trucks are going and where they're coming from. So this would balance our long versus short hauls between different harvesting groups when available. What we mean by this is depending on markets and demand was not always an option. So we try and group our trucks up strategically to where the wood is going. So if you got a trucking fleet that's out of the north, we would try and set them up with a primarily softwood block, where if it's mostly hardwood, we try and do one of our local guys from the Nackwick area here to truck that wood. And backhauls to increase the truck utilization and loaded miles. Any questions on that?
All right, thanks very much, Josh. Well done. There are some questions there. Maybe we'll just ask everybody maybe to come back on screen and we'll just go through the questions. And just to remind the audience, if you have any questions, just maybe preface your question with whomever you'd like to target your question to. So just I'll just get rid of that, bring everybody on board. Bruce, just probably address this to Joe, Adam, or even as well as Josh, but could you guys comment about driver resistance for backhauling? Has there been any, have you seen any of that over time in your experience?
So I'll start on that one. A lot of driver resistance comes from top down as far as their trucking fleet. So this may be the owner or the loader man being in a panic. He wants his trucks back by a certain time. But as far as the earnings or like the owner of the truck, they're usually quite optimistic and want those extra loads.
Yeah, for me, I've seen a bit of resistance from it. Generally, if you sit down with the driver, the contractor, and explain the rates, they're usually on board after that. There's a lot of issues where they want to get back for shift change, where they might not want to do a long distance, and I understand that. But if it's just around rates, we just have to kind of spell it out for them and show them the advantage, and then they usually change their mind, from my experience.
Yeah, from a contractor point of view, I think the contractor is mostly supportive. I mean, we do have some drivers that are going to resist it, like they said, for shift change reasons. But, something we do is encourage our contractors to incent our drivers, whether it be on productive machine hours or on earnings that the truck makes per week. So if the driver understands the backhaul situation and understands that, their bonus or their money situation is going to be incented on them getting that backhaul, then in those situations, they're more than happy to get that backhaul or even wait a little bit to get a hold of it. So, that's some of the ways that we try and encourage it anyway.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. So I just open the floor to any other members of the audience there. If you have any questions, you can just, again, hit your Q&A and we'll tack anything you throw at them. You got to put them to the test better than this. Come on. There we go. All right, from Dwayne Simpkins, do the tri-drives require larger turning areas in the woods? So are these trucks typically used strictly for mill-to-mill transfers?
Yeah, no, we use them in the woods, no different than our self loaders, and we don't change our road design because of these trucks. It's a 52-foot Manac trailer, similar to what we use on our HSL. So yeah, the truck is a slightly longer frame, but no, we don't do anything different on our road building.
Cool, thank you. Anyone else with some questions? This way here, you don't have to ask a question in front of a big crowd. You can just post it. So it's usually a little easier, but going once, going twice. We've left them off the hook way too easy, but anyway. All right. So with that being said, everyone, well done. We certainly appreciate you, on behalf of the attendees and the CWF, we certainly thank you for taking the time to prepare and share your thoughts and ideas, with this webinar. Lots of great information there shared, and kudos, and like I said, in your own operations, all doing a great job. So we'd like to, can't give you a round of applause virtually, but anyway, we certainly extend our sincere thanks for that. Certainly also like to acknowledge and thank the Canadian Wood Fiber Centre for their continued support of our Woodlands Virtual Forum webinar series. So again, just want to recognize them for that. Also, as per usual, we will provide everybody with a link where you can access the presentation, the webinar here on demand at your leisure. So we'll be sending you a link on how to access the webinar presentation within the next few days. Also pleased to announce that we're also working on a new cutting edge webinar series. As you know, a lot of in the past, we've had great success with our dinner meeting type series where we have localized type meetings, smaller scale throughout the whole region. But again, because of COVID, we're flipping that into more of a webinar series. So you can watch for more details coming out in early February on that. I'm going to try to share something here with you for the first time. So bear with me just so that, just to see if I can share this with you. Just something on our upcoming spring meeting. So stand by. I think it worked. We're good. So yeah, and we sort of had to make the unfortunate decision, I guess, just before the holidays, just to ensure safety of all our members and our speakers and exhibitors and the like. So anyway, we'll be offering our spring meeting April 21st online virtually. So please watch for more details as we start to unfold all the registration and program that we plan to launch for that in the near future. So anyway, we'll have more to you here soon. So without any further ado, on behalf of the Canadian Woodlands Forum, thanks for joining us. Looking forward to seeing you all again soon. And thanks again to all our speakers for your great presentations and participation in today's webinars. So stay safe and bye for now. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks for organizing.
Thanks.